The Chiefs just made 2 decisions that are going to completely shock Chiefs Kingdom, and you guys don't even know what's coming yet. One involved a perceived former starter who signed with a totally unexpected team, sending shockwaves throughout the entire organization. The other is even more devastating. It looks like that contract extension everyone was hoping for before the start of the season for one of the defensive cornerstones isn't going to happen. And if that wasn't enough, the Chiefs are about to embark on an 11-hour flight journey to Brazil, the longest trip in franchise history, to face the Chargers in a game that could define the entire season. What I'm about to reveal will completely change how you view this week 1 and the team's future. Man, there's so much to talk about today because this is the week football officially came back. Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season has arrived, and we made it here. The season opener between the Cowboys without Micah Parsons and defending champions Eagles will be the first one we'll watch on Thursday night before the Chiefs take on the Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil the following Friday. They started a normal week of practice yesterday talking about the Chiefs, but they'll take Wednesday off while they travel to Brazil. And man, it's a really long trip. I believe it's the longest regular season flight in franchise history, or at least very close to it. The flight to Sao Paulo lasts about 11 hours, but could be even longer. Then they'll practice on Thursday before the game happens the next day. Special teams coordinator Dave Toub is not a fan of this trip. He let the media know, and I cracked up because he basically said, "I'm getting too old for this." Even so, they'll do what they need to do and try to get out of there with a win. Jawaan Taylor shared with the media last week that when he lands, he's going to see if he needs to get his knee drained because of being in the air for so long. He had an offseason knee cleanup procedure done, but said last year they had to drain his knee every single week. The analysis of this situation is concerning. With knee drainage or not, I think Jawaan Taylor should look better this season compared to last, since he played most of the year with that nagging knee injury. Connecting these injury concerns with the current team situation, speaking of knee injuries, wide receiver Jalen Royals, the Chiefs' 4th-round rookie, was the only player not to practice on Sunday, and I'd imagine the same happened with him today since he's dealing with knee tendonitis. He most likely won't play this week either, or at least it's trending in that direction of Royals not playing, which means the Chiefs will be without both Rashee Rice, who's suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season, and Jalen Royals, with Marquise Hollywood Brown being somewhat of a question mark too. However, there seems to be more optimism for Hollywood, who's been sidelined for most of training camp. About half of it, and all preseason with a foot ankle injury. Andy Reid didn't seem too bothered by all the time he's missed, telling the media in attendance that Hollywood is a vet. He knows the system, so it shouldn't affect him too much. And then he noted that Brown should be fine for this upcoming game on Friday. So in a perfect world, the starting 3 receivers are Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and a mix of Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton, depending on the play design. However, they might just be easing Hollywood back in, so maybe he's more on a snap count than anything else, and we might actually see more of Juju than some are expecting, which should be fine. Tyquan Thornton will be out there too, kind of in the Justin Watson role, but Juju is going to be the guy you use to offset Travis Kelce in zone coverage. Meanwhile, the Chargers play a ton of zone. He's also the vet in the room and has shown great rapport with Mahomes throughout camp and preseason. And if that wasn't enough, he's the healthiest he's been in years. Shifting focus to special teams returns and WR depth, there are a few things worth talking about, but also some of these guys will be featured on special teams in the return game. Nico Remigio will be the punt returner with Dave Toub, noting that Nico has been the starter for the last 8 games, keeps getting better, and had a great camp. He'll also be out there on kick returns with the other returner on kicks being either Tyquan Thornton or Carson Steele. Now, something else about the wide receiver room is that there's more rapport in that room right now than this time last year. Think about it. Worthy is in year 2 in the system, as is Juju since returning from a brief stint with the Patriots. Then Hollywood was here last season as well. That definitely helps. And Patrick Mahomes said that the offense has prepared a bit this offseason as far as game plan goes, with Rashee Rice not in said game plan. And now that they know exactly how long he's going to be gone, the first 6 weeks of the season, they have other guys who can work into his role. Obviously, Mahomes said losing a player of that magnitude isn't easy, and his role can't be replaced by one single person, but they have depth in that room. Speaking of depth and systems, I hope Kansas City leans into their run game, because that's where Kingsley Wesley Swamataya has excelled in his run blocking compared to his past pro, and it's also Trey Smith's biggest strength. I know they're not a run-heavy team. They're going to primarily want the ball in the hands of the best quarterback in the game, Patrick Mahomes. But when they do run the ball, can they get 5 yards a pop with the occasional 10 to 20 yard chunks? If so, that's really going to help open up that pass game, especially against the Chargers. It'll also help that Isaiah Pacheco is back to form, free from injury, or at least further removed from being hindered by injury and laser focused while on a contract year. Then there's going to be a lot of eyes on rookie left tackle Josh Simmons in his NFL debut if he continues to look like he has so far. Again, limited sample size, but it appears like the Chiefs have their franchise left tackle for years to come. However, all they can really do here is take things 1 week at a time. And as a rookie, mistakes are going to happen. Same with Kingsley, he's kind of a rookie guard, so we're going to see growing pains on the left side of the line, for sure. Nagy said that Josh Simmons is committed to not making the same mistake twice, and Simmons himself told the media that the nerves are there, yes, but he's aiming to cancel that out with proper preparation. The most impressive analysis here is his dedication. He's studying the playbook about 2.5 hours a day. He's asking a lot of questions, even asking defenders at practice like, hey, what did you see there that I could do better, that I can improve upon? That kind of stuff. And you really love to see that. Connecting this meticulous preparation with the overall offensive strategy, the hope is that both Kingsley and Simmons, especially Kingsley, will be able to hold up enough in pass pro to allow Mahomes time in the pocket and even be able to attack downfield, i.e. the deep ball. Matt Nagy said that the offense is going to have that aggressive mindset about them as far as the deep ball is concerned. The plan isn't to force deep shots just to say, hey, look, we did it, but really to work within the progression of the play and take shots strategically as they open up. Mahomes is proud of the progress the offense has made getting to this point week 1, and with them going up against a great defensive line, Khalil Mack is one to watch. It's not just Khalil though, they have a lot of depth as well as one of the best safeties in the league in Derwin James. And on top of that, Los Angeles had one of the best defenses in the league last year. They were the top scoring defense, allowing just 17.7 points per game. Jesse Minter is their defensive coordinator. He was the DC for the University of Michigan, helping them ranked top in the country in 2023, and in his 2 seasons as their DC, they ranked number 2 in that span. He then followed Jim Harbaugh in 2024 and helped them go from 23.4 points per game allowed in 2023 to the best in the NFL last year, barely edging out the Philadelphia Eagles. And with all the coaching staff, at least the core pieces returning for year 2, the Chargers are going to be even more cohesive from a coaching standpoint than they were last year. And in year 1, the Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers made the playoffs after going below .500 the season prior. Sure, Herbert had a pretty bad game in that loss, but had they won, the Chiefs would most likely have been playing them in the divisional round last year, so the Chargers are here. The AFC West is going to be a tough-fought battle, and honestly, Los Angeles gives the Chiefs a fit quite a bit, or at the very least keeps it very close. There have been a lot of one-score games between these two teams since Mahomes took over as starter. I mentioned it earlier, but they run a zone-heavy defense, but the zones are tight, and they have a bunch of different combinations. Harquages Satan, per what Andy Reid described their defense being to the media yesterday. That's why Mahomes will be looking Juju and Kelsey's way in this one for sure, and honestly why Travis Kelce seems to absolutely cook the Chargers game in and game out because of all the zone coverage they run. I will say I'm thankful this is the only AFC West game the Chiefs will be playing without Rashee Rice. The remaining 5 AFC West matchups take place from week 7 on. That's when Rice returns, and while every game is important, there are none more important than division matchups. And if we flip to the other side of the field for a second, Coach Spagnuolo is very excited to get to Brazil and play a real game. He said, Ladd McConkey is the guy they want to keep eyes on at all times. A guy who plays roughly 60% out of the slot. He's dynamic, and it's going to be hard to put just one guy on him. I think the hope would be Trent McDuffie is able to kick inside and cover him at least on key downs, while Jalen Watson and Christian Fulton play on the outside. Remember, Nazeeh Johnson is on IR, so if it's not Jalen Watson and Christian Fulton on the outside when McDuffie kicks inside, it's going to be Joshua Williams. Spagnuolo shared that Fulton has been trending up since coming off the PUP list. He played a lot of snaps in that last preseason game. It was in the 40s, and it was to try and get some of that conditioning back. It's tough when you have to miss so much of training camp. It makes the conditioning aspect of things pretty difficult. And Spag said that Fulton's going to play in this game against his former team, at least in some capacity. He just made it seem like he wasn't sure how much he would play just yet. Another player I'm not sure about, at least for his status this week, is defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott. Spagnuolo shared that while the progress of defensive end Felix Anudike-Uzomah has been pretty noticeable, Norman Lott's progress has been difficult to keep in a consistent positive direction because of his ankle injury. He keeps making strides, then has a setback with that ankle. The honest analysis is that if I had to put money on it, I'm not sure Omar Norman Lott plays week 1. On the subject of the defensive line, I want to get into some not great news for one perceived to be starter all offseason long. And then from there, I've got to talk about the now unknown future of a very key pillar of the defense as a whole. I wanted to let you guys know that the perceived starting nose tackle, the run stuffer throughout training camp and preseason who was released by the team, just signed with the Cincinnati Bengals practice squad this morning, that being 34-year-old veteran Mike Pennel. I was hoping he'd at least be able to make it to Kansas City's practice squad when they released him. He didn't have to clear waivers after all. So like Mike Edwards among other veterans they released, I thought he would wind up on the practice squad, but it seems like there was some bad blood. Not sure how much, but there was some division there based on how things went down. And for now, Pennel is a Cincinnati Bengal, joining another former Chief in Orlando Brown Jr. Well, that means Derek Anati will be playing quite a bit to help go against the football team and the Chargers who love to run the football. I'm gonna do my full preview for this game on Wednesday, but last season alone, the Chargers were 10th in run play percentage and 13th in rushes per game. Then they upgraded, in my opinion, their running back room. They have the former Steeler Najee Harris in their backfield. He's had 1,000 yards every single year he's been in the NFL, and even though he missed most of camp and preseason with an eye injury he sustained during the 4th of July weekend, he is trending to play at least in some capacity on Friday. That means they will mostly be relying pretty heavily on Omarion Hampton, their first round pick out of North Carolina in this year's draft. Run defense is going to be a pretty key aspect in this one, and no matter who's out there, Spags noted he feels like the team will be spending the first quarter of the season figuring out their identity. It happens every year due to roster turnover, and you just never truly know what you have until you get them in real life game situations. We all at least know what the team has in quarterback 1, Trent McDuffie, a guy who's excited to get out there and play a full game together. Trent said the Chargers have a disciplined offense and do a really good job in the run game. Ladd McConkey in the pass game is dynamic, plus they have some young new receivers in that room as well. Now, regarding him playing in the slot, he was asked about that by the media, and he basically said Spags has him doing a lot of different things out there, and he's fine to slide inside and play against the run. He's not afraid of contact, wants to make some tackles, or he can cover on the outside, and I really hope we see more of him in the slot this season. From there though, Trent McDuffie was asked about contract extension talks and how they were going and if he thinks they could get something done prior to the start of the season, which yes is just a few days away. Well, to that, McDuffie made it seem like that wouldn't be the case. He said he's not worried about that and just wants to focus on football this season, and they can worry about all that in the offseason. Nate Taylor of ESPN, I believe, was the one who asked that question, and he also put out an article last night after McDuffie spoke to the media and said, a multi-year extension probably won't be happening despite the Chiefs having had several conversations with McDuffie, and I'm guessing his representation in an attempt to get an extension done. The most crucial analysis of this situation is that this was always going to be difficult to navigate as McDuffie rightfully deserves top of market money. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have him under cost control this year, very cheap base salary, and then they picked up his 5th-year option for next year, but that's still only $13.6 million, so that's very cheap in comparison to $30 million a year, which is what the top corners are making right now. It's a pretty slippery slope though, because the longer things take, the more expensive McDuffie is going to be. It seems like a worry for another day though, as the team shifts focus to playing out the 2025 season, which is unfortunate. But if the Chiefs have had several conversations with McDuffie and his team about getting a long-term deal done, and it didn't work out, it's obvious there was at least enough of a gap in disagreements on value, maybe guarantees, possibly both, and the decision was made to simply revisit in the offseason. The naked truth is that this situation shows how complicated it is to maintain a dynasty when you have to pay market value for stars. The Chiefs clearly value McDuffie, but they also have to be financially smart. It's a delicate balance between keeping talent and maintaining salary cap flexibility, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes eating up a significant portion of the budget. The decision to wait might be wise in the short term, but also risky if McDuffie has an all-pro season and his price goes up even more.